Hi, my name is Mike Jones, and I'm the Services Implementation Lead for Nottinghamshire LPC.
And my name is Liam Stapleton, and I help the LPC with learning and development initiatives to support contractors.
So welcome everybody to the fifth video in our series that will help contractors prepare for and deliver the new pharmacy contraception service. After the introduction video, we provided two videos that help contractors get their pharmacy and their teams ready to deliver the service. The fourth video talks about communication, and on this video we're going to be focusing on other aspects of running the service effectively. Now, there are some resources available as PDF files that accompany this video, and hopefully you'll find those useful too. If you haven't printed those already, please pause the video and print them off. There's an action plan there that you can take notes of the actions as we go through this session. So what we intend to cover in this video is three things. Firstly, what does a good consultation look like for this service? Secondly, how will consent be obtained? And thirdly, the record keeping that's necessary for this service.
Thanks, Mike. So what does a good consultation look like? So it's important to have a process in your mind for delivering the service. That'll help you deliver the service consistently and with quality. This doesn't mean you need to follow it slavishly, but if we stray from our process, we do so by choice. So here are some of the key elements that we think the consultation will include. Firstly, we need to give an overview of the service. What's involved, including blood pressure measurement, weight measurement if appropriate, sharing information with their GP, and what we can supply. When the patient understands the service, we can ask their consent. The next stage is to collect their details and then measure their blood pressure, weight, and height. Once we have these results, we can discuss them with the patient and make a decision about whether it would be safe and appropriate to supply. If we choose not to supply, we should explain our reasoning and refer them to the GP or local contraceptive service. If we are going to supply, then we need to counsel the patient appropriately to make sure they understand how to use the oral contraceptive properly.
So as the volume of services increases and there are greater calls on the pharmacist's time, you could always use the skill mix in your pharmacy more efficiently. Not all of this consultation process needs to be undertaken by the pharmacist, and that's a key point. With appropriately trained staff members, the process could be shared. For example, the pharmacy technician could describe the service to the patient, record the patient's consent, collect their information, and measure their blood pressure. The pharmacist would then focus on the part that only they can do, discussing the results, making a decision as to supply or not, and counselling the patient.
As with all services we provide, obtaining consent is important. As mentioned earlier, consent can only be obtained when the patient is fully informed of what the service involves. In this case, there are three things that we need consent for: providing the service and keeping a record, taking the patient's blood pressure and weight, and informing the patient's GP. Without consent to take blood pressure and possibly weight measurement, we can't provide the service, because that's integral to making sure the patient's suitable to receive the oral contraceptive. If a patient doesn't want to give consent to inform their GP, or if they're not registered with a GP, we can still provide the service. For this reason, consent for the service and informing the patient's GP should be taken separately.
So what records do we need to make for this service? So the service specification requires us to keep appropriate records for the purpose of service delivery and, importantly, audit. However we may maintain our records, we need to be able to access them easily for audit purposes. If our record is kept in the patient's PMR, we need to be able to identify patients who have received the service. Application programming interfaces, or APIs, are being developed at this moment for farm outcomes and some pharmacy IT systems that will collect the appropriate information to send to the GP and to record for the PGD and to be reported through the MYS portal. If you don't have access to systems that can do this, creating your own paper or electronic record that complies with the data sets in this service specification is required. Remember that these will need to be stored securely. Whatever system or approach you use for record keeping, it's best practice to reference the record of this service with the record of dispensing products for audit purposes. So what are you going to do now? Perhaps review the action plan you've already started to complete. Add in any other action points you may have missed, and remember to assign the deadlines and the owners to those tasks.
So our program videos have focused on setting up the service and delivering the service effectively. We hope to develop a further video in the future to share learning from delivering the service and identify best practice. Look out for more details about ideas about best practice and future videos on the LPC website, in our newsletters, and on our social media pages. If you have questions or examples of good practice for delivering this service, please let us know so we can share them with your colleagues. Thank you for engaging with our series of videos.